Man, Manhattan.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. The Secretary of the Army, Daniel Driscoll, is at Fort Stewart in Georgia this morning, where he's just paid tribute to a group of soldiers who disarmed a sergeant after officials say he opened fire with his personal weapon.
One of the soldiers tackled the person, so just think about this. They were unarmed and ran at and tackled an armed person who they knew was actively shooting their buddies, their colleagues, their fellow soldiers. 5 were wounded. The secretary says 3 have been released from the hospital. 2 others are still being treated, but expected to recover. Officials say the suspect had no known disciplinary issues. He was arrested for a DUI in May. In Moscow, President Putin explaining he's hoping to meet with President Trump in person next week, possibly in the United Arab Emirates. Putin spoke the day before Mr. Trump's deadline for reaching a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine. Former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor.
President Trump has the ability to lay down conditions. There has to be very soon a 3-way conversation. It can't just be a 2-way conversation between the Russians and Americans. The Ukrainians have to be there.
President Trump's higher tariffs on more than 60 countries and the EU went into effect this morning. The new rates are expected to lead to higher prices on everything from furniture to cars here in the U.S. One auto manufacturer is already reporting a drop in profits and cutting its forecast. WWJ's Jeff Gilbert.
Toyota brought in 3% more revenue in the April to June period, but saw its profits decline 37%. Toyota says tariffs cost it $3 billion. The world's largest car maker still posting $5.7 billion in earnings, despite other issues, including an unfavorable exchange rate.
A new study finds California's wildfire season is starting earlier and earlier.
The study published in the journal Science Advances says the state's fire season now starts in the spring, 46 days earlier than it did 3 decades ago. And the researchers expect the fire season will continue to move up in the calendar. They blame climate change, which has the snowmelt starting earlier and soil and vegetation drying out sooner.
And making those grassy fuels more readily available to burn.
Cal Fire Battalion Chief Robert Wetstein. What used to be considered a seasonal threat is now a year-round concern. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Meta's taken the wraps off Instagram updates with new features like reposting content and a location map. Tech contributor Ian Scher.
These features on their own may not seem that important, but they mirror critical things that have helped Snapchat and TikTok to stand out from what Instagram is offering.
This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. We offer auto, home, and commercial auto insurance, plus a variety of business insurance options. Visit Progressive.com today.
A couple years ago, I was in the bathroom at the airport when I dropped my smartphone in the toilet. Not smart. I was multitasking when I should have been focused on the job at hand. Embarrassing, but I'm not alone. According to Google, 7 million other multitaskers accidentally dropped their phones into the bowl last year. A gentle reminder that right now you can get yourself a brand new Samsung Galaxy A36 absolutely free with a $35 plan from Pure Talk. The A36 comes with scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass and a battery that'll last all day, along with unlimited talk, text, and data on America's most dependable 5G network. In other words, it's tough and smart. Something to think about next time you're multitasking in the necessary. Just dial pound 250, say keyword micro to get your free phone today. You can make the switch in just 10 minutes. That's pound 250. Say micro to switch to a no-nonsense smartphone and a company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
A scene from a Hollywood movie is being used to great effect on some farms in the West.
Here's the problem. Gray wolves are eating livestock on Oregon farms. Cue Scarlett Johansson.
You're so merged with your own selfishness, you don't even identify it as selfishness anymore.
Her bitter scene with Adam Driver in the movie Marriage Story is being played on loudspeakers and drones to scare off the wolves.
Every day I wake up and I hope you're dead. Dead like if I can guarantee Henry would be okay. I'd hope you get an illness and then get hit by a car and die.
The sound of fireworks and gunshots is also being played. One official tells the Wall Street Journal it's been somewhat successful. Steve Kathan, CBS News.
History set to be made in Atlanta.
This one chopped foul, and that one is called by the third base umpire, Jen Powell.
Powell will become the first woman to ump a regular season Major League Baseball game at Saturday's Marlins-Braves game. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
A couple years ago, I was in the bathroom at the airport when I dropped my smartphone in the toilet. Not smart. I was multitasking when I should have been focused on the job at hand. Embarrassing, but I'm not alone. According to Google, 7 million other multitaskers accidentally dropped their phones into the bowl last year. A gentle reminder that right now you can get yourself a brand new Samsung Galaxy A36 absolutely free with a $35 plan from Pure Talk. The A36 comes with scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass and a battery that'll last all day, along with unlimited talk, text, and data on America's most dependable 5G network. In other words, it's tough and smart. Something to think about next time you're multitasking in the necessary. Just dial pound 250, say keyword Mike Rowe to get your free phone today. You can make the switch in just 10 minutes. That's pound 250. Say Mike Rowe to switch to a no-nonsense smartphone and a company that actually stands for something. Pure.
News Radio KMAN weather.
Sunny, hot, and windy conditions expected over the next trio of days. 97 today with those winds gusting to 25, clear 78 and breezy overnight. Sunny, 102 tomorrow. Heat index values could climb to 105, paired with wind gusts up to 30 from the south. Partly cloudy, breezy, and 78 tomorrow night. Winds dying down on Saturday. It'll be partly sunny at 96. A 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms develops overnight Saturday night into Sunday. Partly cloudy, 73 the low, then a high of 91 under a partly sunny sky on Sunday.
Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Memberships are a fun way to experience the zoo. Pick up your membership and enjoy the Sunset Zoo all year long.
Digging deeper into the conversations, trends, and ideas impacting Manhattan and the Flint Hills. This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio KMAN.
When you combine biology with technology, you have the ability to solve problems, create products that improve health of human beings and the planet. It is happening in Wamego, Kansas, where my guests today, Chris and Brandi Miller, and their company, Tritica Biosciences, are taking the power of nature and using it in new and innovative ways. And with apologies to Gene Roddenberry, they are boldly going where no one has gone before. My name is Mike Matson. I'm a former broadcast journalist. I describe myself as a recovering political operative and lobbyist. These days, I am an author and a columnist for the Manhattan Mercury, and I bring all that experience to this job, your host for this program. We call it Within Reason. It is a news media vehicle that is designed specifically and purposefully to seek, and we hope very often find, the second thought. Within Reason is presented by Stormont Vale Health, McCown Gordon Construction, and the Trust Company. We're live on News Radio KMAN. We are live streaming on YouTube. If you'd like to watch us visually, you can go to that website, search News Radio KMAN, and there you will find us. And we're being recorded and will be posted as an audio podcast on the KMAN website, made available on a host of audio podcast platforms. Chris and Brandi Miller, welcome to our show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So excited to be here.
Glad you guys are here, eager to learn more about Tritica Biosciences and biotechnology. And my advice to you both is talk to me like I'm a third grader, because you're a scientist, and I'm confident you will be much more fluent in all of the nuances that I won't understand. So, but first, before we get any further, tell us who you are. Let's start with Chris. Give us the Chris Miller 101.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I born and raised in Kansas and raised my family here. So when I left, grew up in Garnett, Kansas, and went to Kansas State University, got an undergraduate degree in milling science. And I guess it's kind of a shared story. Brandi was there at the same time. That's where we met.
That happens a lot, right, at universities.
That's why you shouldn't sit in the back row.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's what I used to tell my students, to don't sit in the back. You might end up married. So
there you go.
But yeah, so started my career in grain processing. After college, we went to Quaker Oats in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and learned a lot about large-scale grain processing. It's the world's largest oat milling facility, so quite a lot going on there. I was recruited back to Kansas State to do a master's degree in grain science, and then I took a faculty position there in the department and was teaching in the milling program. And along the way, this is where things get a little bit blurry, I guess. A couple kids, a couple dogs, full-time faculty. I got a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biophysics, all that kind of overlapping.
Fair enough. Well,
it was a challenging time.
I can imagine. It sounds like you didn't have a lot of spare time anyway.
Not a lot.
We'll talk a little bit about Tritica Biosciences as we go, but Brandi, first give us your story.
Certainly. It actually looks just like Chris's, actually similar to how our shirts look the same. I also, Kansas born and raised. I have an undergraduate degree in bakery science, also worked at Quaker Oats. The joke is I keep following Chris around. I'm hoping this is my last stop, that I won't follow him to any other careers, but I also worked at K-State, associate director of the IGP Institute, so very familiar with grain handling, and then my last career was with the Kansas Cooperative Council.
We are visiting with Brandi Miller and Chris Miller. They are the principals of an outfit called Tritica Biosciences. So help us understand what it is.
Certainly. Well, Tritica actually started in 2017, and it is your classic startup story. It started in our garage. And Chris just had a dream, and we thought, let's do it. Let's just see what happens. And that's what we did. He had actually filed a provisional patent for a piece of equipment that killed pathogens in grain and dry powders, basically, and flour, and pitched it to a private company. They were really excited, and they purchased the technology and paid Chris proof of concept to flush it out, and then it worked phenomenally. Actually, it killed pathogens exceptionally well. It just made the flour smell like garbage.
So from the perspective of just the way products are created in manufacturing, right? What you just described, Brandi, that's a best practice for how things get to market. Fair?
Right.
And
Sure.
so the fact that you are doing it in biotechnology should not be surprising.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that particular process was really interesting and timely, because at that time we realized as a nation, actually, that you can get E. coli and or salmonella from consuming flour, not just eggs. We grew up thinking, don't eat the cookie dough because you might get salmonella, but we found that can actually be transported in dry powders. And so that was really the jumping off point for Tritica. And when we realized that the flour smelled, that nobody was going to eat it, the company that we were working with said, okay, well, what else you got?
Yeah.
And
I think we were good research partners at that, in that early stage. When I wrote the provisional patent, our vision of what Tritica is today, that's what our vision was back then. But the project has nothing to do with our company today. And the idea was to try to bootstrap the beginning of Tritica Biosciences. I thought I could sell the patent, somebody would give me a suitcase full of $20 bills, and we would just go on our way. It didn't work out that way.
You are not alone in that thought, right? There are a lot of entrepreneurs who have that thought, and they think of that as the outcome, and you have to build a plan to kind of get to that point.
Yeah.
So, Chris, help us understand Tritica Biosciences today. How has it evolved since what you just described?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I can start by kind of explaining what it is that
Please.
we do. So Tritica is focused in an area of bioprocessing. It's kind of an emerging area called cell-free protein synthesis. 99.9% of all bio-based products are produced through fermentation today. So that's growing up E. coli or yeast or some kind of bacillus or some bacteria in a big fermentation, big vat. And then they harvest those cells. They break them apart and they try to extract whatever product it is that they're trying to make. So that's classic fermentation.
And what products, what you just described is what most people would recognize. So help us understand the products that come from that process.
Well, I mean, ethanol is a classic example of a bioprocess that uses yeast to produce, ethanol. So I think that's the easiest to wrap your head around.
Thank you.
We don't do that. So our process doesn't use a living cell.
So help us understand that, right? So what you're describing is sort of, and I may mischaracterize this, so if I do, just check me. What I hear you describing what I would call an industry best practice that had been around for decades, right? And this is the way we did things. You said maybe there's another way.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of back to the origin story of me, who I am. So my background in grain processing, flour milling, combined with this biochemistry and protein biochemistry, I was reading some papers back during my PhD about this process called wheat germ cell-free protein synthesis. This was discovered in the 1950s. So USDA researchers studying just a basic function of a living cell, the ribosome. How does a ribosome take DNA and make protein? And they were using wheat germ as their source for these cellular machines. And I think it's because of where they were located in the USDA lab. But
Sure.
Even today, though, that was in the 1950s. So you snap forward to today, the most recent modern protocol for wheat germ cell-free protein is dissecting wheat berries with a scalpel to remove the wheat germ. And after a few days, you get enough, 5 grams, and you can put it in a mortar and pestle, right? So when I read that, and I'm like, oh, you're crazy. You don't know how to make wheat germ. I know, I know how to do that. And so that's where this concept of Tritica came from, is my idea of marrying this industrial grain processing knowledge with this really high-tech biotech, biochemistry.
And you guys have recently made the decision to be a little more out loud about what you're doing, right? Help us understand the genesis of that.
Yeah,
Brandi.
absolutely. I mean, we were very fortunate to have a private partner for the last 5 years, basically. But as Chris mentioned, this is very novel technology. And we were really cautious about sharing what we were doing, especially because we were in the process of filing our patents on the actual process itself. And we got awarded that last year in February. So it allowed us a little more flexibility, but we really wanted to just be careful about what we were saying, because we weren't in a position where we were comfortable sharing enough information that somebody could potentially take off with it. But now we're light years ahead of most folks.
Well, I was going to ask. So in that respect, it's like any other industry, right? You have proprietary knowledge and practices that you guys have invented and developed, right? That are brought to bear on the work that you do, and you clearly want to protect that. And so that's kind of what led to all of that. When you think about it, I mean, it's like I invent a new can opener.
Yeah.
I'm not going to want anybody to know what I'm doing until I got the thing ready to go.
Yeah.
Similar?
Yeah, and candidly, it's been our biggest challenge. I mean, maybe not our biggest challenge. We've got a lot of scientific barriers that we're still working on optimization, but we have a hard time convincing even some folks in the scientific community that this is a possibility. And we've seen it work. We have had so much success in the last few years, and even just in the last few months. But even the scientific community is a little hesitant to buy into it because, if you think about how much work that would be to remove it's less than 2% of the kernel from a wheat berry with a scalpel. Nobody can buy into the fact that we can do it at scale.
Well, when you think about that, and we're surrounded by a scientific community. There is a land-grant university right next door, so we will get into that. The Tritica Biosciences proprietary platform redefines biomanufacturing by harnessing the power of cell-free protein synthesis. It will drive the rapid discovery and innovation in synthetic biology. It came from the heads and hearts of Chris and Brandi Miller, and our dialogue with them will continue. Stay with us.
This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio, KMAN.
At Stormont Vale Health, high-quality care is right around the corner.
Stormont Vale is more than just a health system. We're your neighbors, dedicated to supporting the well-being of our community and the Flint Hills region. With our strong partnerships, including collaborations with the Mayo Clinic Care Network, other healthcare providers, and various community organizations, we're committed to offering personalized, high-quality care when and where you need it most.
Stormont Vale Health, high-quality care closer to home.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
You've heard the expression, it's what's on the inside that counts. At Schultz Construction, they couldn't agree more. Starting with the foundation and everything inside the walls, Schultz Construction is committed to making sure the things you don't see in a house are as good as the finishing touches you do see. From custom homes to commercial buildings, Schultz Construction takes pride in their quality control from start to finish. Schultz Construction, building trusted relationships through the development of quality neighborhoods.
The clock is ticking toward a new K-State football season.
16 days.
As Farmageddon kicks off the season in Ireland on News Radio KMAN.
Here's the stretch. First down, Wildcats. K-State has the first down and more than likely the ball game. K-State leads by 3.
Don't miss a snap this season. Coverage begins at 7 that morning with Power Cat Game Day on News Radio KMAN. The Cats play here. The Ramsey Show, today at 10. This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio, KMAN.
Brandi Miller is Chief Executive Officer of Tritica Biosciences. Her husband, Chris, is the founder and lead scientist. They are based in Wamego. They envision a future where scientific discovery knows no bounds. Before the break, guys, we were talking about just sort of the proprietary nature of your work and the fact that the scientific community hasn't quite caught on. Give us a sense of what that looks like.
I'm actually going to lean on Chris. He got to spend some time in Boston a few weeks ago and got to kind of share a little bit more at the granular level of what we were doing with one of our partners, Ginkgo Bioworks in Boston. And so I think he's probably got a better idea of how excited the scientific community that gets to see the process has become. So
yeah, I think.
And first, let's define the scientific community. Who are we talking about?
Yeah, this would be people in an area called synthetic biology, so biochemists and biologists that are trying to make new products, basically.
And they work for academic institutions. They work for private. Mm-hmm. They're across the board, just in terms of.
For sure, yeah. I mean, there's definitely an academic community around synthetic biology. This team of collaborators in our current work is all corporate, so there's no academic partners in this right now. But.
All right, fair enough. And so right now, when they see what you guys are doing, what's their reaction?
Yeah, so we've, like Brandi said, we've been working on a large project, and one of our collaborators, Ginkgo Bioworks, they've had access to our platform, and they're using it actively to produce new materials, new compounds, new drugs. And they had just recently gone through a large kind of overhaul of their process of development, and it was like a 2-month process to get through one product. And when I was there, they shared with me that we basically turned their turnaround time to 8 days, and they're just
8 days from
2 months.
Yeah,
8 days from 2 months.
Yeah.
And so when they hear that, what's their reaction?
Well, they're just like, they're just blown away, basically.
So is it like, is it as simple as it is? You guys have developed something that is so new and so innovative that even smart people with a lot of intellectual capacity who do this every day haven't yet got their heads around it because they haven't seen it or experienced it?
Yeah, I think if you know on this type of deal. I mean, there are people that are researching and using a platform similar to ours. I mean, for sure. But if you're not involved in that area of science, even as an academic or even in corporate America, people just don't know. They've not heard of it, and we've even, like Brandi kind of alluded to, had some kind of arguments with academic PhD biochemists. Like, no, that's not how biology works. You can't make things without a living cell. It's like, oh, actually we can. So
yeah, we've had several scientists that we've invited out that are phenomenally intelligent people, and they're just befuddled. I mean, they really just can't wrap their mind around it until they actually see the process and see what we're doing and understand the steps that we're taking.
I mean, is this a comparable analogy, right? Wilbur and Orville Wright put an airplane in the air, and people didn't have a clue, and they were thinking, how do you do that? Only birds can fly. I mean, is it at that level?
Well, I feel that way, Mike, but I am obviously, very optimistic about the potential with what we've got. But it is really novel. I mean, I think it truly is. Cell-free is being used currently, but not with wheat germ. And because of our platform that we are using in the extraction process, that's what makes it so novel.
Okay, we are visiting with Brandi and Chris Miller. They are involved in their company called Tritica Biosciences. It is based in Wamego, and we're going to drill into what you just described, and we're going to assume that most of our audience is like me, right? We know enough about this to be dangerous. We can probably define biotechnology, but we don't understand the exact science and what you do. So it's not a scalpel. And so, Chris, I'm going to ask you to talk to me like I'm a second grader and explain exactly what you're doing that is unique.
Yeah, so I think everybody gets the idea that living cells have processes inside that keep you alive, right? So, and I think people understand that all of the proteins in the human body come from DNA, and DNA turns into, those are the instruction set that your cells use to create proteins. That's just the central dogma of life.
Sure.
And so what we do is we harness that power, and we have a process to extract those cellular machines. And when we do that, they're still intact, they're still working, they're just not part of a living cell.
And so it's the process that is your proprietary data, right?
Correct.
That's what you have. Can you talk about what that process, how that process works?
Well, it's basically an extraction process. And so the reason why it's so novel is we are able to extract significant amount of wheat germ in a very short amount of time. So because of that, it allows us to manufacture quite a bit more wheat germ extract, where previously it would take significant time to isolate the germ, extract it, turn it into something else, where it doesn't take us that long. We can actually manufacture a protein, insert whatever you would like. We use a lot of luciferase, which is the firefly light, the protein that makes the firefly light up. And we can do that in about 3 hours, honestly.
We are visiting with Chris and Brandi Miller with Tritica Biosciences based in Wamego. They're involved in what I describe as sort of a mashup of biology and technology. So the process that you guys have, is that proprietary?
Yes.
And can you talk about it? Can you help us understand what it is and how you actually physically do the work?
Yeah. So so our process is patented, so we have protections around that. But basically, we have a process to extract the embryo of the seed or the wheat germ.
And you don't do it with a scalpel.
We don't. No, right, we have a pilot facility, and so we use industrial flour milling equipment, basically. I mean, it's not like any flour mill you've ever seen, but we use industrial equipment that you would see in a grain processing facility. We didn't invent the equipment; we just put it together in a different way.
Well, that was my question, right? Yeah. So this is gear. This is industry sort of respected equipment that's out there. You guys just have the ability and the intellectual capacity and the knowledge and the experience to use it in a way that it's never been used before.
Correct.
Is that a fair assessment?
Yep.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the partnership. You touched on ginkgo, right? This is a brand new deal. So, Brandi, walk us through the origin of that partnership and what it will mean for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how the world works, Mike. I think, we've known each other for numerous years, and how we just have come into contact again and are visiting here today. And I think that's kind of this beautiful story with ginkgo. We went to a conference. We all went to a conference. It was in California in May a couple of years ago, and just happened to be introduced to a gentleman that worked for ARPA-H. And he couldn't talk to us because he didn't want to get us too far down a path. Please go ahead.
ARPA-H is?
Yes, ARPA-H. Oh, gosh.
Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health,
let me take a shot at it. You guys check me on it. It is a subset. It is the U.S. government. It is a subset of the Department of Health and Human Services that funds things like you guys.
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
So it's money. It's a big pile of money, right?
Yes.
That is out there. Right.
So it's a congressional delegated agency that was formed a couple years ago, and it's the sister agency of DARPA.
All right. So it is taxpayer money, right?
Correct.
That is aimed specifically at helping to design new products, pharmaceuticals that are going to keep us all healthy and alive.
Right. And what makes? Oh, please.
No, I was going to say, I'm just trying to. We're going to walk through this together, sort of one step at a time. ARPA-H. Is sort of the funding aspect of it. And so you were saying, you met this dude that said ARPA, he's connected to ARPA-H, and then what happened?
He said, hey, I have a colleague, the former colleague of mine that you need to meet. And he introduced us to a gentleman named Jesse. And that is really the origin story of our relationship with ginkgo. So we went to Boston, we met with Jesse, we started discussing potential collaborative opportunities based on our platform and the work that they do. What's really interesting about ARPA, and I think it's important to mention, is they only fund projects that have really high deliverable expectations. So they don't really consider it granting, they consider it project work. And if you don't deliver on your project commitments, they will cut you. And so I think it's an interesting way to think about how tax dollars are used for innovation, because there's really high stakes at play.
Well, in that way, it's probably different than the way folks might think of a National Institutes of Health grant, right, that might go to a medical school, that might go to cancer research.
Correct.
Versus something like ARPA-H, which is sort of R&D driven.
Right.
And there's going to be a return on investment expected, right? And
Right.
so that's what's, and if you think about the way government works, that's sort of unique.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. Very much so.
We are visiting with Brandi and Chris Miller. They are involved with an outfit called Tritica Biosciences. Where'd the name come from? How did you guys land on Tritica?
Yeah, so Tritica is actually the Latin term for wheat. So Tritica is wheat.
And I'll go back to, I mentioned Gene Roddenberry at the top of the show. You guys are boldly going where no man has gone before. You think about the episode from the original program about the Tribbles, and they ate the triticale,
Yes.
right? Which is it's just a form of wheat,
Right,
correct?
yeah.
It is.
All right,
Absolutely.
so I apologize for bringing in all of the Star Trek.
I love it.
So Ginkgo, tell us who they are and what they do.
Yeah, Ginkgo Bioworks they're biotech based out of Boston. And their expertise is really around high throughput automation. So they have really advanced robotics for liquid handling and doing science in a very highly automated kind of way. So really high throughput, great team.
And
great
so
team people.
when they saw what you guys were doing and you guys sat down to have those conversations, what was that like?
Well, so I think the thing that was exciting to them about our platform is that it works really well, and it's based on wheat. And if you think about wheat as a raw input into a bioprocess or a biotechnology, it's almost limitless. I mean, it's effectively a limitless input.
Why?
Wheat's grown everywhere.
And especially here in the middle of the country,
Yeah, I
right?
mean,
we have the climate, we have all of that. Okay, so that makes and in Kansas, that makes all kinds of sense. Could you do this work with any other grain?
I can't talk about that too much. But
See, this is where I'm going to play so naive.
We're exploring that. We have patents filed in that area.
Fair enough. All right. Our guests today are Brandi Miller and Chris Miller. They are the principals of Tritica Biosciences based in Wamego. They are the intellectual, imaginative, and administrative brainpower behind Wamego-based Tritica Biosciences, whose pioneering cell-free protein synthesis platform will eliminate traditional biological constraints. I did not write those words. I could not have written those words. Those came from them. We will have more with Brandi and Chris after the break. Stay with us.
This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio, KMAN.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Dollars spent locally today help build a better community for tomorrow.
Quality Collision is still open for business while they improve the intersection by the dam. Dodging a few orange cones is worth it to receive quality restoration. Keep your car looking as good as the day you bought it. Quality Collision, where quality is more than their name. It's a promise to their customers.
Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. You'll spend less time driving, saving you gas and time. And more importantly, you'll get home quicker to the ones you love. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
Don't just scream for ice cream. Get on down to Baskin-Robbins at Manhattan Marketplace and soothe that sweet tooth. It's hot out there and Baskin-Robbins is here to keep you cool. From cones and shakes to sundaes and cakes, Baskin-Robbins is what you need. Locally owned, a Streeter family business. Our family serving yours.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Find more great local businesses plus special deals and offers when you keep it local on our website.
I'm Brad Jones, owner at Home of the Flint Hills, where every day is designed with you in mind. We offer a warm, secure, and inspiring home for seniors where independence is honored and your choices always comes first. Experience beautiful, private residences filled with luxurious amenities and a dedicated team of compassionate caregivers. At Home of the Flint Hills, we're more than just a senior living community. We're a place where you're respected, empowered, and free to live life your way. Enjoy the comfort of staying in one place as your needs grow. That's true age-in-place living. Visit homeoftheflinthills.com to schedule your tour today.
Kansas City Chiefs football is back.
Mahomes, clean pocket. Going long, left, and it's caught! Left side, touchdown! Kansas City! The
Chiefs go for a 44-yard bomb. Saturday, live from State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. It's the Chiefs and Cardinals. Pregame starts at 6 here on your home for Kansas City Chiefs football.
Your home for the Kansas City Chiefs. News Radio KMAN. KMAN's Morning News. Tomorrow morning, 6 to 9. This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio KMAN.
We are back with Brandi and Chris Miller, founders of the Wamego-based Tritica Biosciences. Their innovation is rooted in Kansas agriculture. By transforming wheat into a frontier biotechnology tool, they are creating high-tech, high-value applications for Kansas-grown grain. Like what?
Well, human insulin for one. We've done a whole host of things. When we started the company, we thought we were going to make chicken eggs. Everybody is trying to make egg replacers with pea proteins and all kinds of different plant-based, everything plant-based. And I was like, well, let's just make chicken eggs. And I was like, it takes a lot of money to grow beaks and feathers. We should just make the egg. And we could do it. And we actually have made chicken eggs before with our system, but it turns out it's actually cheaper just to make a chicken.
Well, it's like it's the same thing with ethanol, right? When that first started, it's really the concept is easy to understand, but then to actually get to the actual fuel, you got to do all this infrastructure, right? So I assume it's similar with you guys.
It's similar, yeah.
Right. So when you think about those products, is it you have the basic raw sort of material, and from that can come these other opportunities?
Yeah. So that's the heart of our platform, is that it's so flexible. And basically, once we make our extract and we pull out those cellular machines, they're not a wheat plant anymore. They don't require the instructions to become wheat. They can use any set of instructions. And that's the beauty of the ribosome, is when it sees a piece of DNA and it has a start code on that tells it where to start. And when it sees that, it'll pick it up and it'll immediately start to make that protein, that set of instructions. And so we'll just give it a different set of instructions.
And Chris Miller, what you just described, that is what I would consider to be the biotechnology component of that, right?
Yep.
So for people to understand exactly what biotech is, that's a really good description.
Yep.
Right. So, and clearly you guys, you don't do this just because you like the color of the machinery, right? you do this is your profession. This is how you will earn a living, right? So help us understand how, in a broad general sense, you can monetize this and earn a living doing this.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, our goal would be to utilize our platform to manufacture medicine, honestly. I mean, pharmaceuticals, either for humans or also for animals. And but our platform is so flexible. There's a protein in a lot of different things. We haven't even scratched the surface for beauty products, for example. We've done a lot of enzyme work. We've done a lot of different products that we've been able to manufacture, but it's still expensive. And so it's just finding the place where it makes the most sense to utilize our platform.
We are visiting today with Brandi and Chris Miller with Tritica Biosciences based in Wamego. They're on the cutting edge of science plus engineering, this biotechnology component. Help us understand where you guys fit in the bigger biotechnological sort of marketplace. Are there others doing what you guys are doing on the planet?
It's a great question. So there are companies that are doing what we do at an industrial scale. So there's pharmaceutical companies that use cell-free protein synthesis to produce drugs that are in the market today. They're using a platform that they basically pull their cellular machines out of a bacteria. So they'll grow bacteria, they'll pull the machines out of the bacteria, and use it in the exact way that we're using our wheat germ extracts. It just happens that our wheat germ is it's watered by the rain, right?
Sure.
It's fueled by the sun. It doesn't require a bioreactor to make, the bacteria. So we've got an advantage there. And I think the abundance of the supply is what makes us really appealing.
Did each of you grow up on a farm?
No.
No?
I grew up in a farming community. Okay. I did work at the local co-op when I was in high school.
Summertime job?
Yeah, summertime job for sure. Yeah, spraying fields and actually that's kind of one of the local area farmers there was what really got me interested in the milling science program at Kansas State, and then that just has that kind of agricultural connection.
The milling science program at K-State is cutting edge, right? They're pretty proud of what they're doing there. How do they think about what you guys are doing?
I don't know if they really know very much about
They'll
it.
go knock on some doors?
Yeah.
They have a new department head, and we would love to visit with him. We tried to set up time with him a few weeks ago, and then unfortunately we had a conflict. So we'd love to circle back and visit. I think it would be really exciting to spend some time with Dr. Linton. And I think what's really interesting about what we're doing, and this speaks a lot to his philosophy around education, is it's cross-disciplinary. Had Chris not done his PhD in biochemistry, I don't know if this would have ever came to fruition, because he has such a unique background in grain processing and grain handling, and this theoretical understanding of proteins at the molecular level.
And it's not that if you spend your college years within the College of Agriculture and that's all you do, it's not that you wouldn't necessarily have that ability, but the fact that you chose to you do it this way, and then you did more learning in another area, that's what kind of gave you this intellectual head start. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look at the way a flour miller views his flour mill, and it's a bakery ingredient, this is going to become a loaf of bread. And as a biochemist, I step into that same flour mill, and I see a raw material and input into a bioprocess, and that's just something that came from my background.
We are visiting today with Chris Miller and Brandi Miller. They are the principals of Tritica Biosciences, which is based in Wamego, Kansas. They are trying to monetize scientific discovery. Help us understand what your footprint looks like in Wamego.
Oh, it's so cool. Well, you'll have to come visit.
We should.
We actually, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, that we truly are a garage startup. And so we built a house, or I don't believe the county appreciates that term, barn dominium, whatever you would like to call it.
Potawatomi County would probably be more accepting of it than Riley County.
That's probably true. But we started in a really small, less than 1,000 square foot lab space.
It was 100 square feet, 10 by 10 lab, and
smaller than a garage.
Yes, no, it was a
quarter of
in
our
the
garage.
corner of our garage.
Okay, fair enough.
And then outgrew that, and we landed one of these R&D contracts, and so then we closed up the garage doors. We renovated the entire garage, gave me 1,000 square feet. Outgrew that. We moved our family out of the house. I took over the rest of the barn house. Outgrew that. Then we broke ground on a new facility. So we have a new 10,000 square foot facility with a pilot process and laboratories. And
where are you guys in Wamego?
We're west of town.
Okay.
Yeah, rural.
And give us a sense of your human resource pool. How many folks do you employ? What's that look like?
Yeah, we're a small but mighty team. I mean, in addition to Chris and I, we just made an offer this week actually to our third scientist on staff. We have a couple of contract employees that help us in some of our human resources needs, our strategic planning needs, somebody that helps us source some of our grain as we're trying to be, thoughtful in our different varieties and that sort of thing. And so we're fortunate that we're able to do what we do with a small group of really phenomenal people.
Our guests today are Brandi and Chris Miller with Tritica Biosciences based in Wamego, Kansas. They're on the cutting edge of science plus engineering, biotechnology with some proprietary inventions that could potentially revolutionize the way that many products are created, stuff we probably haven't even thought of yet. So you talked about the scientists that you hire. What is it that you want them to do?
Oh my goodness. Well, right now it's everything because we're so small. So some days it might be taking out the trash or washing glassware. But that's
a fringe benefit.
I did that this morning.
I think that comes with the territory. But really what our needs are individual scientists that understand protein and how to isolate proteins, protein synthesis. We have a scientist that's a bioinformaticist, and so she's focused on really digging into data and understanding what the data tells us. And then we have a scientist that focuses mostly on translation, and so she takes the RNA and introduces it to our extract, and she creates the proteins. So, yeah.
We are visiting today with Chris Miller and with Brandi Miller. They are the principals of Tritica Biosciences, and they have a product that they have created based on their intellectual knowledge and what they have brought to bear and what they hope to do with it. When you think about, you talked earlier about the partnership you have with Ginkgo. That happened just by, you met some folks who knew some folks who said, let's get in a room and have a conversation, right? And that's often the way that these sorts of things happen. Yeah. The money, we'd mentioned this before too, the money comes from ARPA-H, which for the purposes of this conversation is a pool of money, taxpayer money, under the Department of Health and Human Services. The director of ARPA-H reports to RFK Jr. Are you guys worried about that?
Ooh.
Let me ask a better question. When you look at what has happened the last 6 months from Washington, D.C., with respect to the way they are trying to, giving them the benefit of the doubt, be more efficient with federal taxpayer dollars, and they're taking away many of the things that are maybe adjacent to ARPA-H, are you concerned about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. We passed the test. We were awarded the grant. I think when you look at Tritica and you look at companies that are in Kansas, okay, where we have the Kansas values, we are good stewards of the money. We're not wasteful. We're not frivolous. And I think that comes through the work that we do and the way that we present ourselves. So I'm not that concerned. I think the NIH and the NSFs that are getting cut right now, I think that's kind of a target against, overhead and administrative costs, I think.
Fair enough. Our guests today are Chris Miller and Brandi Miller, and it doesn't take long, especially when you're dealing with federal money, especially in this environment in which we are living now, for politics to enter this. You guys had a visit yesterday from Senator Marshall.
We
right?
did.
That makes sense just in terms of what you were trying to do. Help us understand what that was all about.
Yeah, we had reached out to all of the offices actually and invited them to come. Just so that they had exposure to what we were doing, especially given the high exposure rate of what we're doing at the federal level. And so Senator Marshall, as a doctor and actually an undergraduate biochemist, which I did not know until just this week, he came out to visit and see our process and really understand what we were doing. And we really made a plug. I mean, I think he sits on budget, and so as they're having conversations around innovation, our platform is at the core of this particular administration. I mean, we're able to reshore and bring drug manufacturing back to the United States. It's currently outside of the United States. To your question about RFK, he is not as excited about vaccine innovation, but our platform is so flexible that we could really do a lot of different things that aren't just specific to vaccines.
And to be clear, we are not making vaccines.
Fair enough. Right. And it's like, I mean, when you look at the panoply of opportunities, right, that is one of probably literally dozens of opportunities for the work that you guys do.
Right.
With Tritica Biosciences, biomanufacturing becomes faster, more resilient, and more American-made, as Brandi just said. From Kansas wheat fields to global front lines, we will land the plane with Chris and Brandi Miller very shortly. Stay with us. The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. The experienced professionals at the Trust Company are recruited specifically for their financial, legal, accounting, and business expertise. But they're also your neighbors who, guided by your hopes and dreams, will come to deeply understand your aspirations and goals. The Trust Company, locally owned, client-focused. Their only allegiance is to you. Visit thetrustco.com.
This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio, KMAN.
Stormont Vale Health is your go-to for exceptional care right in your own neighborhood.
The Flint Hills campus in Junction City is open 24/7 with a full-service hospital and rural health clinic. You'll find primary care and advanced lab services at our Wamego clinic to keep your family healthy without the drive. Our Manhattan campus offers a wide range of primary and specialty providers, plus imaging and lab services, and a pick-me-up at Radina's inside our campus. Visit StormontVale.org.
Stormont Vale Health. High-quality care closer to home.
I'm Alex Snell, proud new owner of Lemoney and Dryout and Foundation Repair. We're committed to continuing the tradition of top-notch customer service you've come to expect. Whether you're dealing with a burst pipe or storm damage, our water mitigation team is ready to act fast and protect your home from further damage. If you suspect mold, don't wait. Our mold remediation experts will identify and safely remove it to keep your indoor air healthy. Breathe easier with our professional duct cleaning services, which remove dust, allergens, and buildup from your HVAC system. And if your home shows signs of settling or cracking, our experienced team handles foundation repair with precision and care. No matter the challenge, we've got the tools and expertise to get the job done right. Call us today at 1-800-528-5535 or visit lemunion.com. Lemunion Dry Out and Foundation Repair, proudly serving Kansas for over 50 years and now locally owned.
Leave it to Lemunion, we're your dry and safe basement pros.
It wasn't long ago that air conditioning wasn't a standard luxury item found in businesses and homes. Can you imagine life without it now? The heating and air industry has changed through the years, but one company has remained constant since 1981. For over 40 years, M&S Plumbing has kept Manhattan and the surrounding communities cool. M&S repairs all brands and offers 24-hour emergency service. So if your AC needs serviced, call on a name you can trust.
Call the experts who care. M&S Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Buck Roofing focuses on customer service by responding to the roofing concerns of residential and commercial properties with the utmost professional service for nearly 20 years. Call for a free no-obligation estimate at 785-230-9379.
The Ramsey Show.
So I am 20 years old, straight out of high school. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona to start my own business selling furniture.
What does selling furniture look like?
So I go around picking it up, clean it up, take really good pictures and sell it. I'll probably do about 100 grand this year. Net.
Wow. Some of you are standing around with your finger in your ear. And then you got a 20-year-old with a high school education that's making 100 grand flipping used furniture. He's laughing all the way to the bank.
Financial advice for everyone. The Ramsey Show. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio, KMAN. Your daily dose of sports conversation. The game starts at 4. This is Within Reason with Mike Matson on News Radio, KMAN.
We are back. Tritica Biosciences is a Wamego, Kansas-based biotechnology company that is revolutionizing the way that proteins, enzymes, and therapeutics are produced without the need for living cells. Brandi Miller is the chief executive officer. Her husband, Chris, is the founder and lead scientist. We've been chatting for the last 51 minutes or so just about what it is that you do. And you guys have been very kind to, these are my words, to dumb down the language so that I can understand it and that most of our listeners who are probably a mile wide and an inch deep can understand it. So let's just repeat it. It bears repeating, I think. Help us understand exactly what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, we basically have created a platform that uses wheat germ to manufacture proteins. And proteins are the building block of life. And so anything that you think about, proteins are in everything. And so that is truly what we've done. We have patented and optimized a platform that is able to take wheat germ and convert it to any protein possible.
And it's not that that work wasn't being done before, it was just being done differently, and is still being done differently in other parts of the industry, so help us understand how it's different from the status quo.
Yeah, so like I was saying, this cell-free protein synthesis, we didn't invent that. That's been well known. The industry standard today is to grow bacteria and harvest the cellular machines out of those bacteria to do this process. We harvest the machines from wheat germ. I think the thing that makes us unique when you look at harvesting cellular machines from E. coli or some bacteria, it requires 1,000 liters of fermentation to create 1 liter of cell-free extracts. And you can see quickly, if you want 2 liters of that extract, you're talking 2,000 liters. And the bioreactors and the controls that go into that quickly get out of hand, right? You can't. There's a certain point where you outstrip the entire world's capacity for biorefinery. So our input is wheat germ, and if we need more liters of our extract, we just go find another acre of wheat.
So is it safe to describe you guys' product as more efficient than the status quo?
It's in the sense that our input is almost limitless. Yes. As far as the way the systems work in the end, once you make an extract from the bacteria versus ours, they're the same.
We are visiting today with Brandi Miller and with Chris Miller. They're the principals of Tritica Biosciences based in Pottawatomie County, Kansas. It's a biotechnology company that is being a bit more out loud about their work now that they can and have some breakthroughs. So when you think about the biotechnology community, right, there's been a narrative, as you guys are, I'm sure, well aware, in this region that we can do more. We can be the leader in the nation of biotechnology, right? Are you guys part of that conversation?
We are starting to become part of that conversation. You know, as we mentioned earlier, we really were operating in stealth mode. And so now that we are really visiting with individuals in not just the biotech community, but in the ag community about what we're doing, we're trying to really engage more with those folks that are on that cutting edge.
So we've been opening the doors. It's, Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. We've been opening the doors and allowing some people to come in and take some tours and visit. And without question, every person that comes through has a different idea. Can you do this? Is this platform able to do that? And it's just, it lets people daydream about a future that's different.
And these are people that you bring in that have a sense of what you're doing, and that can use that to monetize whatever they're doing. And so that's your role in this sort of chronological product placement chain. Fair?
Correct.
Right. So you guys won't be. You will. It's naive, or it's probably wrong to think of you as being. You're not going to employ 1,400 people in Pottawatomie County, Kansas. You might employ a dozen or two, maybe when you guys are rocking and rolling, but that's not you're not there to necessarily serve as a job creation component in terms of the product that you do. You're part of a bigger picture chain. Fair?
Correct.
Yes, definitely.
All right, so let's think about the future, right? You guys right now are in a process where you have an exciting product. You have developed a process that no one else on the planet has developed. You are talking about it out loud. You're right here in the middle of the Flint Hills region. You're both K-Staters, right? So you're proud of it. You have built it from literally a garage shop to one that is now looking for high-level scientists to come and work for you. You've had some success with the Ginkgo contract. You hope for more. When you think about what you want it to look like, let's say 5 years from now, and then a generation from now, 20, 25 years from now, what goes through your mind? Chris?
Yeah, so I have this memory of a time I was at a conference, Bioindustrial Organization had a World Congress in Des Moines, Iowa. It's been a few years back, and I listened to a guy talking about the bioeconomy, and this is all things that are made through biology. Ethanol is an example of that. Everything made by Cargill and ADM and bioprocessing, that's part of the bioeconomy. And somebody asked the guy, he's an economist, and they ask, how big is the prize for the bioeconomy? What's it look like? And the guy says, all of it. And he's basically saying that someday everything that we touch and consume will be produced through a biotechnology route, either through fermentation or some other plant-based process. But that's what I see.
And you buy that. You think that makes sense. That is realistic.
100% buy
fair
that.
enough. Brandi, what do you think about when you think about what you want it to look like a generation from now?
Oh my goodness, a generation from now. I mean, I think that if we are utilizing the Tritica platform to manufacture pharmaceutical drugs, how incredible is that? Thinking even bigger, if we were able to use this platform in international situations where we have some sort of need for quick production of drugs, that sounds exciting to me. I just think that because there's so many opportunities with our platform, I have a hard time daydreaming because the dream is so big.
What do you like best about the work, Chris?
Oh my gosh.
So passionate.
I just love it. I literally love what I do. I love working in our building. I love being in the lab. Bringing Brandi on board has let me step away from the more CEO-like, day-to-day activities. And I'm at the bench 7 days a week. I just love it.
My thanks to Chris and Brandi Miller for taking the time today to share the passion and innovation that drives their efforts at Tritica Biosciences in Pottawatomie County, Kansas. When I hear them describe what they're doing, it takes me directly into a narrative that has been around this region for more than a generation about the economic potential of doing something more with a raw agricultural commodity, something more than planting and harvesting a crop, selling it eventually to a food processor who will turn it into a loaf of slices of white bread. They are quite literally reshaping the future of biotechnology. My gratitude as well today to Gwen King. She choreographs the technical aspects of our effort here on Within Reason, and to Emily Porter, who helps us with social media on all the platforms. If you haven't already, we would encourage you to go to Instagram and Facebook and like us. We are Within Reason with Mike Matson. Tomorrow we will wrap up our summer series of one-on-one interviews with candidates for the Manhattan City Commission when we will welcome Martha Sweeney. That will wrap up 9 individual interviews with 9 separate candidates. We will also reserve the right to bring them back in the fall, closer to the November election as the circumstances warrant. The guests on Within Reason fall entirely within the domain of my judgment, but I have learned through the course of my experience in Kansas and walking the planet that my judgment sometimes is flawed and that my judgment is often enhanced with input and insight from others. Therefore, if you have an idea for a guest or an idea for a topic or dialogue for our program, I would encourage you to go to the K-Man website, find me on the podcast tab, click on Contact Mike, send me an email. You can find us as a podcast on the K-Man website. We'll also be available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Audible. My name is Mike Matson. The program is Within Reason. This is News Radio KMAN. Thanks for listening.
We're bringing the studio to your screen. Within Reason live on YouTube each day. Subscribe now and join the conversation. 75 years strong, bringing the news, sports, weather, and conversation. News Radio, KMAN,
sponsored by Progressive
Manhattan.
Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. President Trump used social media to hail the new tariffs that have taken hold against dozens of countries as of today. CBS's Aaron Navarro at the White House.
The administration is projecting $300 billion in new revenue. That's up from the $77 billion collected from tariffs in 2024. That is money that goes to the Treasury and is, of course, worth watching on what the federal government does with that. They've talked about using that to pay down the national deficit, but President Trump has also said and entertained some sort of rebate check.
Well, CBS's Kelly O'Grady on the outlook for consumers.
Your Swiss chocolate is not going